Welcome to the Low Ceiling. It's me, Pri, and that's the important stuff. And I'm starting, and I'm here.
I guess I'll take this blanket then.
Hey, what?
And I'll take this crappy one.
Oh, you can have this.
No, I'm fine.
He said, normally.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think I'm fine. Welcome to the Low Ceiling.
Oh, God
this
damn
is
it.
We're going to start here. This is the moment we're going to start, actually.
They're not going to know that I got him started with the Welcome to the Low Ceiling. It's Pri.
I'm going to cut out everything you say
That's some bullshit.
in this entire podcast. The whole thing will just be me being like,
Welcome to the Low Ceiling.
Daybreakers.
All right.
When's the day going to break? When the vampires are coming out?
Spoiler.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What's up?
I've been hitting the cinemas.
Yeah, you have been hitting the cinemas. We're going to talk about the film Daybreakers today. I don't know why. But
Well, because I told you why. I put my foot down.
Yeah.
I'm out here bullying you.
There's a lot to say about this film.
Hell yeah.
But you've been at the cinema more than I have.
I've been partaking in culture at home and elsewhere.
And abroad.
And abroad.
Yep.
And
And by
by
abroad, we mean a couple train stops away.
Yeah,
at
basically. I got to change zones out here. Ugh.
You saw Novocaine.
I saw Novocaine first. Yeah.
Yeah. What
2
was
days
that
ago.
like?
And, for a guy who doesn't feel pain, it is left open-ended whether or not he feels pleasure.
Okay.
So, because it makes it seem like, yeah, I feel the sensation. I'll tell you what this movie did to me is it made me think about things that are associated with pain. For example, bladder control, going to the bathroom, having to pee. He apparently has no sensation for those things, right? Because
he doesn't have. Do they say that in the film?
Yeah, he has to have a 3-hour alarm every 3 hours
To go try and pee.
to go to make sure that he remembers.
It's
to
like
pee.
he has IBS, but for everything.
For everything.
His whole body.
But then, the lead actress is like, yeah, let's do the business. And he's like, oh, I'm sure you're going to feel that.
And you don't know if he does or
We
not.
don't know.
That's the thing with a lot of like superhero-ish movies or movies about superpowers. They never really talk about what's important and like, can you jack your dick still?
Yeah.
Like things that like if you're an one of the X-Men or something and you can pass through walls or things pass through. It's like, yeah, but could you grab your own dick and jack off? Like that's the important stuff. Okay,
Kitty Pride, tell us.
Yeah, does Iron Man have a big iron dick to jack off with? Like they don't. I have a lot of problems with the superhero genre, but that is something that I feel like they never really address.
It's primarily around junk.
Yeah, they don't address anything in the crotchal region of the superheroes, and it's one of I think the big drawbacks of that.
You know what? All of Mr. Doom is about that. So get ready. Yeah, Dr. Doom. Mr. Doom.
Is he a doctor or is he just a professor? Like
in a way that Doctor Strange is a doctor, mayhaps.
Yeah.
Perchance remains to be seen. The second movie that I saw last night was
Doctor Strange. Can he go to a universe where he has 7 dicks to jack off with?
What the hell? No. Those are tentacles. The second movie, as I was saying, that I watched last night was
The Alto Knights. Yeah.
Man.
A movie made by 700 old people.
Starring 700 old people.
Yeah.
But that's my shit.
It's directed by Barry Levinson.
Yes,
who's
it is.
Not young.
Yeah.
It's written by Nick Pileggi, who is like 90. And it stars De Niro playing 2 roles.
2 De Niros for the price of 1, baby.
I had heard this movie was bad, which is why I didn't want to go see it with you. But I also didn't tell you that I had heard that before you went.
I saw that it got 39%.
Yeah,
and
considering
then I was
that
like,
we're a podcast that covers a lot of movies just like that,
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like, oh, I heard that movie sucks. You shouldn't go see it. Because you liked it, right?
And I think it qualifies for our podcast, is what I'm saying.
A lot of movies qualify for our podcast, yes. But
I think the best part of this movie is it feels like there is no script. Maybe that is the worst part. In that
that's usually a positive.
But okay, two things. One of the De Niro's was just given, hey, do every impression of Joe Pesci ever.
Yeah.
He's got the cadence, he's got the speed, he's got that. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hey, can Iron Man jack off his huge metal dick or not?
Yeah, exactly. In the same voice with the same, like, so good.
Yeah.
And then the other regular De Niro, fucking, it just seems like they were told to talk from their hearts, because there's a lot of pauses and ums and like going back and saying the same thing a couple times, and it feels so natural.
Yeah.
That I wonder if they were just not given, they were just told thematically in this car, this is what'll happen. And now it's going to be a 10-minute car ride. So just fucking
like
make up shit.
Like a Curb Your Enthusiasm movie.
And it's the comedic timing on some of these things is fucking excellent. Like, it's so good. My whole vibe is just watching 900-year-olds like just, partake in discourse, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I heard it's a real dad film. Like,
and you know me, I'm the number one dad.
Was there, so when you saw Novocaine, there was three other people in the cinema?
Yeah.
How many were in for the Alto Nights?
Well, two others
besides you?
Yeah.
Were they together?
Yeah.
Really?
And they were like, they looked so in love. It was like
good for
super
them.
Romantic, and they got chicken wings.
And they booked a seat right beside yours too. Yeah.
Actually, I booked a seat
in the empty cinema. They were like
60 seats.
Complete chaos agents.
I was there, and I was
right
like, "Girl, what you drinking?" And she's like, "It's a spicy margarita." She's having a great time.
And then she's like, "Do you want to try it?" And you're like, "Yeah." And then she reached over and dripped it
just
gently
like into my
your
mouth.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's what the Alto Nights is about. Hell yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, because I had heard it wasn't very good.
No.
But you know what? There's people out there who need to champion some movies. And you are a champion.
That's true.
Yeah.
But going from Nights to Daybreakers.
The Alto Nights going to the Breakers. So this movie, I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm not going to be championing it in its form.
Correct. But
my big thing about this film is that it's a really, really good idea that is poorly executed.
Can I also tell you it's a fucking time travel movie?
Oh,
because, okay, let me set the stage for our audience.
Cool.
In the year 2019, a plague has transformed every human.
Yes.
They're craving something intravenous, perhaps, but it's in short supply.
Well, they're vampires. You can
no, wait.
Cut to the
wait.
Oh, okay.
There's a news headline that reads, "How a single bat started it all." 2019.
Yeah.
This movie came out in 2009. How the fuck did they know about vampire COVID?
Yeah.
How did they know that shit?
Well, to be fair, in the film Contagion, a bat also started that.
But that is about COVID.
Well, no, not really.
So he says.
That movie came out in 2011. So
clairvoyance.
Yeah.
That prophecy came out in 2011, more like.
So my big important question about this is whether vampires can, like whether they feel any pleasure from, because
bet they feel
they're
pleasure.
undead, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Daybreakers, starring Ethan Hawke, directed by the Spierig brothers.
Yeah, couple of brothers
I haven't heard of since, although I believe they made a movie in 2022 or something. They're Australian. This movie is completely filmed in Australia. It's a weird film. Like, it's a weird movie because it's not good.
Look, I'll tell you that the premise is excellent, and it's a thinker.
That's the thing, is like, that's what I'm most interested in, is like, I think the premise is really good.
Yeah.
And they resist all temptation to expand upon it in any interesting way.
Yeah.
And also, weirdly, I was thinking this because I watched this movie twice, because like you wanted to cover it more than I did, but I was like, yeah, we should cover it, because I did. I was like, this is an interesting film, but I watched it twice just to be like, what do I want to say about this movie besides, can vampires jack their dicks, which is the important thing. But like in the second rewatch of it, I was like, this is like a weird criticism, but the story is told wrong.
Yes.
In a way.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Ethan Hawke is the protagonist, and yet he doesn't have really any emotional arc. And yet Sam Neill has this whole thing with his daughter.
Yeah.
And in that part of the film, they switch over to telling a story about Sam Neill and his daughter, and you're just like, yeah, this is like way more upsetting than whatever's going on with Ethan Hawke. Even though Ethan Hawke loses his brother and his brother sacrifices himself, but you're just kind of like, well, Ethan Hawke is barely a character in this, unfortunately. Yeah. Ethan Hawke's a good actor.
Yeah.
I get it, but like he's so flimsy in this film.
That's
and
a
it's
great
like,
point.
It's kind of weird.
There's so many more compelling stories, and by compelling I mean even a little bit more of a life than Ethan Hawke's character has.
And it's like you'd think that he would fall in love with that girl who like gets him all into this. No. Like none of that really happens.
No, they just care about living.
And she also has no story. Like she's just doesn't have anything she barely has a character, and that might be the fault of the actress. I don't know, but like yeah, it's such a weird film. Yeah.
Well, one, the premise is that almost all humans are dead or dying. There's only 5%
and they're
humans
being
left.
Farmed by the vampires.
And 95% of the Earth's population is now vampiric. Yeah. But somehow Willem Dafoe plays a quote unquote human.
Yeah.
And I think the same excitement doesn't extend to anybody besides Sam Neill's character, who's like, oh, I have a daughter who is human, but I'm trying to like find her because I'm a vampire.
But he also wants to stay a vampire, which is that's his whole thing.
Yeah.
You know? And Ethan Hawke, Sam Neill wants to find the blood cure, the blood substitute, so everyone can continue being vampires.
Yeah.
And Ethan Hawke ends up finding a cure, which goes against what Sam Neill wants. Because Sam Neill's like, no, like besides the not having enough blood to drink, being a vampire is pretty cool because you never die. You never really get sick. You can jack your dick as much as you want. And like, you know what I mean?
It goes against the whole like classism of being a vampire, is because you want to be a small, sought after club, right? If they're all fucking vampires, where's the class struggle?
Yeah.
Is this a communist film?
But there is a class struggle though, because they like part of this film is essentially like the vampires are like, yeah, what if we executed the homeless of our society?
Well, they are because of lack of blood. Those vampires are turning feral.
The sub. What are they called? The
sub creatures, whatever. They're like growing fucking ears and weird.
They're turning into like really creepy
human
like
bats,
scary vampires.
Yeah,
they're turning into bats. Yes.
So because of that, they might want to kill them off. But then, okay, what after that? Everybody else is a rich vampire.
Well, exactly, and it's like you just
capitalism still exists,
and like it's like, oh, we have to kill these things that turn like feral and gross, and like that's the, you know, it's like it's like if we just murdered fentanyl addicts like we were in the Philippines or something. Like
Jesus,
it is
right.
like it is kind of like that, where you're just kind of like the underclass of this society. They just eventually, as the blood grows less in the world, they're just kind of like, oh, I guess we'll have to burn them alive in the sun.
Oof,
this movie is very depressing. Like it's
so
actually
stylized. It's fucking
but not well. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like it's
like old Matrix.
You know what's really weird? I thought was like the title sequence of this film, the credit sequence. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to knock the filmmakers too hard about this, and I'm not really knocking them, but it's very eerily reminiscent of how AI is now. Yeah. It's like as good as what AI could make now.
Yeah.
Except on all the little newspapers, it would be like Florgan, and like it would be some weird AI language because it can't read.
Yeah.
But like it is, the effects in this film are a little lacking, but they are very 2009, so it makes sense.
Oh, wow. It actually, it feels like way older.
Yeah,
it feels like 2002 or something.
It feels like low budget 2009. Like I don't think the effects are particularly good, but it is like it has this like paste of like gray washed out contrast in the camera, and like every time it's night, you're just kind of it's weirdly like overlit, but also just this like weird metallic sheen, and it just does not look good. And then in the sunlight, it all just looks yellow. Everything is just a yellow whatever. Yeah,
maybe vampires are colorblind or bad at fashion.
they all dress like they're in the 1930s.
They're all dressed like they're in
Yeah.
the fucking Matrix. It's everyone has like a fucking fedora.
This the thing is like it's one of those weird dystopia. Remember we talked about Ready Player One and how like the dystopia you're kind of like what. Like I don't believe this, and there's this weird thing where all the vampires in this, even though and the women too, they all dress like they're kind of like 1920s like business people in New York City, and they're just like they're very like dainty and kind of beautiful, but it's also like well. There's no vampires who dress normally like they did as there's those kids you see at the beginning but like
like a 6-year-old is like smoking a cigarette because she's a vampire now, so she's probably 60 years old.
she's lived a life and she's
dressed like fucking Hannah Montana, so it's a little bit like,
they're dressed like a B-box crew.
What
like
time
they're about to like break dance or something. It's a weird it's like a movie. It's frustrating that it doesn't live up to its premise in almost any regard.
The world building is cool.
But there's not enough.
Sure. They try to show you the vampire technology with the car that can drive during the day. Yeah. Like it gets like a super black fucking blacked out
windows and Chevrolet put in probably like half the budget of this film to have that whatever that car is
product placement every 5 minutes.
Yeah. that shot where Willem Dafoe, I mean, I love a good dummy work scene. Like instead of special effects, they have the shot where Willem Dafoe gets in a car crash and he flies through the windshield and it's clearly a dummy. It's great.
It's fantastic.
Because you can tell because the body is just bending so awkwardly into itself as it flies through the air.
That's why they call him Elvis.
But also his hips are so loose that he just
he's a fucking he's an upside down U.
He folds up into right in half.
Perfect.
And like
he's a little Dorito.
He's trying to like blow himself in the air. But in that moment there's this like he like sees the sunlight and he like widens his eyes and then it cuts to like the Chevy logo.
Yes.
Like just a full on cut to the Chevy logo.
Full zoom right into the fucking word Chevy.
It's so funny.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Lionel Cormac, or as my friends call me, Elvis. Why the fuck? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's still great. I think for all the vampire movies that have come out, I didn't even know this existed, and so I think it's pretty underrated.
You were all fucking like, oh, Twilight.
Well, Ethan Hawke's character's name is Edward in this movie.
Do you know why though? Because you're a lady. No, I don't know. But this is okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Speaking of Twilight, there was this like time when Twilight came out where vampires started to become a bigger thing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
More mainstream, like younger audience. Yeah.
And this movie feels like a direct response to being like, no, vampires are like badass. Because this movie is incredibly violent,
That's true, yeah.
And I had this like hypothesis in my head that I was like, oh yeah, a bunch of other movies came out after Twilight being like, no, vampires can be cool again. But then I realized I was like, 30 Days of Night came out before Twilight and like the Underworld franchise had already been going and stuff like that.
That's true. There's been gritty, like all the Anne Rice shit. There's the Strain TV show, which is pretty dark.
But Strain came out as Twilight ended.
Oh, I see.
And I wouldn't call it a response to Twilight. Like the response to Twilight comes out in 2008, and I think the response to being like it was like for 8 months vampires were dope, and then everyone was like, I'm sick of vampires in around late 2009.
Yeah.
And this movie comes out in 2009.
Yeah.
But I realized I was like, oh, maybe I was like misplaced in that. But this movie definitely, I don't want to say it like feels like it's meant to capitalize on the popularity of vampires.
No, it like flips it on its head a little bit.
It does.
Yeah.
Because like if you're a fan of Twilight, I don't think you would be a fan of this movie.
No, not at all.
Despite
not at all.
Clearly demonstrating your poor taste.
Even though they're both called Edward, why wouldn't you love it?
But like, yeah, I don't know. But do you remember that time? Like
100%. I even remember like the fucking obsession with just it was everywhere. You couldn't avoid it. It's like being on the radio. It's some mention of fucking Twilight.
Yeah.
You go to uni. It's like everyone's obsessed with it. But because it's eclipsed Daybreak a little bit,
That's quite enough.
because it was
Get to the point.
it overshadowed a film like this, which could have kind of, ridden on its coattails a little bit.
Yeah.
If it had maybe come out way later, I think it would have found more success. It could have. I see this being like a weird, like culty thing that you watch, and you're like, oh, "Fuck yeah!" The world building is cool. Everyone's a vampire. The main premise is a vampire who's trying to be like kind of not addicted to blood anymore. He's trying to find an alternative. Like all this has like good promise.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of like style without substance. There's a lot of
I think it just fails to achieve it in
Yeah.
every. You know what? It kind of reminds me of like what it could have been in retrospect is Constantine.
yes.
Like Constantine is like this high premise
yeah.
based on a graphic novel or comic book or whatever, but with like an arguably silly premise.
Yes.
And then they make a film out of it that like I'm not crazy about, but I know you're a fan of. I know lots of people are a fan of that movie. But it is like it's a movie with such a absurd conceit that you're just kind of like, yeah, well, if it's good though and interesting, then why not, right? And like we covered Constantine a long time ago. It's a fine movie, and it does kind of hit that thing. Whereas like this movie, it doesn't make it memorable enough. It just falls on its face.
Yeah.
So like.
But then Shia LaBeouf emerges and picks it right back up toward the end. He's like, I got you, Constantine.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Scooping you right up.
But yeah, I want to know more about the world, and they never give you that. I want to know more about Ethan Hawke, and they never give you that. I want to know more about Willem Dafoe, and he looks so checked out in this film a little bit, like compared to the Dafoe we know today, where he's
just cashing in a little
like he could have
paycheck.
He could have been doing Nosferatu in this film in Daybreakers.
He has some fucking excellent lines. He's like, fuck
like,
it, I love a barbecue. Or
it's about as dangerous as
Yeah.
fucking a $5 whore or something like that.
Yes.
That's a line straight out of fucking Roadhouse.
Dude.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then they took those risks.
Yeah.
And they didn't worry about like plot or other silly things.
But it is like I think that is in a way why I feel like it's a response to Twilight, because of the fact that they were clearly like, this must be an R-rated film.
Yeah.
Like,
people
people say fuck. People say it's as dangerous as fucking a $5 prostitute.
People say
it's as dangerous as having intercourse with a $5 sex worker, which is how we say it today at Willem.
Elvis, no.
But like, and then the ending is like so gory and so over the top. Like they like rip off Sam Neill's head, and then they're just like, look, here's his head. Like,
yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Well, the ending is like fun, but it's clearly just like, to me, what strikes me about it is like they have no idea how to end this film.
Look, I think it's a very good idea for the ending to just be more gratuitous violence and horror-y than the rest of the film has been. For example, when they find out, we'll cut to the end, but they find out that the cure for this reversing this vampirism is to make sure other vampires drink the blood of some guy who's turned back into human. So that like,
of which
it's
there
like
are two people on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then by the time there's this like tsunami of soldiers coming in wave after wave.
Yeah.
When the first wave kind of sucks on the blood of the guy who's been turned, they become human, and then the second wave attacks them, then the third wave attacks the second. It's cool. It's just like Last Man Standing a little bit.
But it's also like, and then Ethan Hawke and Hawke, Dafoe, and the woman, they just like
fly into the sunset.
They drive off into the sunset,
Yeah.
and it's like, we have the cure, and we are driving away with it. Like,
sure.
It's like,
well, they're going to other cities, and they're gonna fucking go to Washington
but
probably.
it's not. I don't think they hang around to be like, hey, the reason you got cured is because of this. So share your blood with everyone else if you want to be human. But also like if Sam Neill likes staying a vampire, I think you can kind of imply that other people do too.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't this wouldn't it erupt into some sort of civil war or something like that? And that it's a movie where at the end you're just like, what happens tomorrow? Like, what happens tomorrow in this world?
Yeah.
And I want to know that. But
because of their, let's say the vampires decide not to turn into humans, but humans now also exist.
Yeah.
The thirst for that human blood will be greater than the thirst to shoot him with a gun. It's such a feral response for these vampires when they even smell that, you've turned back human. I have to drink your blood again.
True.
So they're not they become like this animalistic thing. And so they're not going to be rational.
I guess too, it is like, since normal human blood is gone, it's like the only way they can survive
sustenance
is to like be turned back to a mortal human.
Yeah.
I get, but like,
but it's like against their will almost.
Yeah.
They can't. It's like me with a fucking donut. You can't. I have to eat it. I have to eat it.
But it keeps you a normal woman, though, instead of turning into a feral ghoul.
Ask me in 6 hours.
Well, exactly. When I
crave another donut.
Feed you your donut before bed.
Like a gremlin at midnight.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't give me donuts
and
after
I'm like,
midnight.
thank God I can continue to wake up next to a normal human woman instead of some
I'm just gnawing on
disgusting beast. Yeah. Yeah, like... I find this movie so frustrating.
But like, look, I feel like they've explored and thought about the vampirism traits in this world.
Yeah,
they give it a lot more thought. They even flip the script on it, and they go away from the conventional like vampire story building bullshit where it's like, oh, I want to suck your blood, and then you're okay.
It's an incredibly creative idea. Like I'm not doubting that. Can we talk about the plot then? Because we're alluding to all this shit. So, as we said, the vampiric COVID strikes humanity. A bat, bites a pig, and then Gwyneth Paltrow shakes a chef's hand.
What the fuck?
They all become vampires, and blah, blah, blah. Matt Damon is in it.
Whatever. He's the bat.
Yeah, Matt Damon was
Matt
the
Damon.
bat. Yeah. That's the same movie, I think. So it's basically like post-apocalyptic vampire society.
Yeah.
They farm humans for blood. There's also fugitive humans who are trying to not, be around because then they would have to sit on this big like blood milking machine that
it's cool. It looks literally like a thing from
it's the Matrix.
Yeah,
it's
Matrix.
For blood milking. Yeah, it's disgusting. But there's only so much blood, and the vampires are running out of blood. And when they run out of blood, it turns them into these like psycho, crazy bat creatures.
And they have 1 month before all blood is depleted.
This is another issue I have with the plot. Is like they have like 1 month before blood runs out, and everyone's still like, I guess I'll go to work. Like society hasn't broken down yet.
Well, I guess they don't know it. This information,
it's in the news. The news announces it.
Oh, do they? Oh, shit.
This is another thing that's so frustrating about this film is that so much of the background is given to you in these like someone is like watching the news, or it's on the radio or in a newspaper, and it's such an annoying way to get shit across. It's like, it's so frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, though, society hasn't broken down. They're all just like, oh, we all need blood. They just like go to a coffee kiosk in the subway, and then it's just so strange.
Sure.
And Ethan Hawke, the weirdest thing about him is that he drives into the middle of town and then gets on a train. What kind of commute is that? Like, what is he doing?
Maybe it's the quickest way to get to your office.
He's just like vampiric fucking
vampire traffic.
Park and ride. Like,
look, they have some strengths. Maybe transportation isn't one of them.
Transportation infrastructure.
Sorry, guys.
Whatever. Like, anyway, he works for this corporation. He's a doctor. He's trying to find a blood cure. Sam Neill is his boss. They test out the blood cure on a dude whose head explodes, which is pretty whack. They're not, this blood cure is not working out for them.
Yeah.
On his way home from his absurd commute, Ethan Hawke, during the driving portion of his commute home, Ethan Hawke gets in a car accident with this car that's full of humans.
Yes.
And they shoot him with a crossbow, which is really funny. That's like a funny part where he like blocks it, and then he like can't even feel it.
Yeah.
He's just like,
what the
why'd
hell?
you shoot me? So these humans are there.
So Ethan Hawke's like, look, I'm not going to hurt you, but there's other cops who are going to come looking for you humans. So get in my super cool vampire car. Yeah. And then he rolls up his like blacked out windows, and he's outside talking to the cops and being like, I thought the humans go elsewhere over there, officer.
Yeah.
And he creates a diversion. The humans
get away.
They get away. They get out of the car. They run away.
But then he goes to his house where he talks to his brother. He gets an argument with his brother over this blood wine, and then they fight one of those subsider creatures.
Yeah. The wine smashes on the floor because Ethan Hawke
against the wall.
Ethan Hawke refuses to drink blood. That's his whole thing. He's like, I'm a hematologist, whatever guy. I'm trying to make this fake blood. I've lived on this fake blood.
Yeah.
Somehow he has fake blood.
He's not like crazy about it, but I think he drinks it to live
just
or
enough.
Something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He must. That's the thing. There's no like timeline as to like how long was the switch over from human society to vampire society? Like, has this been going on for a month or has it been going on for 5 years? Like, we don't really know. Because like,
is that important?
The little breakdancing child who's dressed like a bebop kid, she's smoking a cigarette. But she's like 11 years old. Yeah. So she must be an adult, right? So it must have been some years. So,
right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's never clear.
Well, the movie opens with this like 8-year-old who writes a suicide note to her parents.
Another thing, it's like I don't remember why that happened. Like
it's the desperation because it must have been so long that they've been vampires.
The only thing that scene accomplishes is that it says what year it is when she does that. Yeah. So it all happens in that 1 year, 2019.
2019.
But then it's like how long I don't recall seeing, or maybe there is something and I'm just missing it. But like that first scene, that's the thing is like this movie is like so stylistic, and that first scene is like really cool, but it doesn't add a lot to the story.
No, it's like something out of 300. It's like, oh, slow-mo and
300
burning
is a far better film than this one, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, of course.
Yeah, 300
superior.
Maybe the first person to say it. 300 is tight as a drum. Okay, that movie fucking. There's not a single wasted
rips.
Moment of 300.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and his brother, Ethan Hawke's brother,
Edward. Yeah.
Edward's brother, Frank. Yeah. Is he's like the policeman of the.
So he's in the vampire army.
He's a human hunter, though. He goes to find humans. That's his job.
But it's a military body. They're all decked out. They have tanks. So the society is obviously governed by like under this like
vampire
fucking martial law. Yeah.
Whatever. The commute is still terrible. It doesn't matter. This is what people who like vote for fascists, they're just like, oh well, Mussolini got the trains to run on time. It's like, well, the commute is awful. Okay. That's just you don't see it.
No.
That's what's gonna happen.
There's nothing good to it.
Thanks, America.
But the human girl who Edward saves comes to his house.
She comes back. That's where I was getting. How do we join these two things? She's like, you got to talk to this guy. He's got a real neat nickname.
You won't even guess it.
She's like, come meet me at this place. He drives out to this place, and Willem Dafoe is there. And Willem Dafoe is like, my name's Elvis, ? And Ethan Hawke, he's just like, yeah, cool, great. And then Willem Dafoe is like, check out my 2 bite marks on my neck, and my heart is still pumping. So I'm actually alive, even though I was a vampire. And Frank has followed them. The brother, he tries to kidnap them because the Defoe and the woman are the woman is definitely fully human. Yeah. And they get in a little car chase, which is car chase is like silly, but there's like that
cool.
It's kind of cool when like they shoot through the windshield.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke can't go in the sun, so like
he's like ducking. He's like, oh, the fucking sun rays is gonna get in there.
It's a creative little bit of like filming, but whatever. They get away. And Willem Dafoe, he brings him to his secret lair or whatever. Yeah. Well, he brings him to the place where he was like, this is what happened. This is how I turned back into human. I got in a car accident because I used to outfit these cars for the dark
tinted windows
to be sunproof for vampires. Yeah. I got in a car accident. Absolutely no fault at all to Chevy, the manufacturer of my car. They're great. But I got in this car accident. I flew through the windshield and I caught fire in the sun, and then I landed in this water in the shade, and I had come back to life, basically. Yeah. Which is like, it's so silly.
His whole body was exposed to the sun for mere moments.
On fire for, And so he's like, if we could recreate that. Yeah. Somehow, which is very funny to think about. It's like just recreate crashing people through windshields.
They're also like, how many seconds would that have to be? Yeah. Because we've seen like other vampires go into the sun and then within seconds burned to dust.
Well, exactly too. And then and Ethan Hawke's brother, to get away from him, they push him into the sun where he's still fine.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So maybe it's like 3 seconds. Good.
Well,
4
that's the
seconds,
thing, is like,
very bad.
It's like, I think they want this blood doctor scientist to help them, you know.
Test it safely, to do a controlled experiment of how much exposure will bring your heart rate back.
It's so absurd.
It's cool, it works.
It's so absurd to extrapolate his dummy body trying to blow itself in the middle of the air, lit on fire, like the fucking Mercedes from fucking Roadhouse. And then he's like, how can we make this into a science experiment to bring people back?
Totally, but also he just assumed it was the sun. What if it wasn't?
Well, exactly. That's the thing.
He didn't test it on anybody else.
He's like, I'm not a scientist. Like, you know, and it's like, well, clearly Willem Dafoe, you're not.
What if it's like the whole point of the movie Crash?
Which one? the one where they fuck the tailpipes? Or
that one.
The racist
one? The good one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like maybe the accident is the adrenaline that turns you back into human or something.
Yeah, like, maybe. Like, we don't know.
Drawing the conclusion that it was the sun that did it, which is like the worst. Like, hey, drink this acid, it might turn you normal.
This is the thing, is like in the writing of this film, they kind of skip over that stuff. They're just like they kind of leap to conclusions so that the audience is like, yeah, cool, I buy that. But you don't. Like, I don't buy it at all.
You know what? It's so funny because I now remember watching it for the first time last week or whenever I saw it. Mm-hmm. And I had to pause and rewind 3 times. Because I looked away from the screen or looked at my phone or whatever, and I was like, wait, wait, what? Wait, so he flew out the window and he's human? No. Maybe this is a flashback. I don't get it. 3 times. I had to watch it.
Yeah.
To be like, oh.
It's a it's a film that lacks some kineticism because like it can move a little slow, which adds to like, because
it's only 90 minutes and it's still
and I just find this movie like so depressing. Like, Ethan Hawke is so depressed and the world is so fucking shitty. Like the scene, we'll talk about it, but like the scene where they like drag those people out by their necks and just burn them alive is just like, it's like vampire Holocaust.
Yeah,
shit.
dude.
It's
they're
so horrible.
Really milking it. Yeah.
But it's also just like Sam Neill is like, oh, my daughter doesn't love me. All right, kill her. Just absolutely, just summarily execute her.
Totally.
It's just so fucking rough. Anyway, so they bring Hawke to their little human hideout out in a wine villa. This is all filmed in like the New South Wales, Australia. Nice. So it's all like deserty and shit, and it's
everything's
cool.
Fucking filter of yellow on it.
Yeah. And the city, like, it's one of those things where like, you know how like the Matrix makes use of being filmed in Australia because their cities look Americanized or like our cities are very similar, but like me personally, I just don't recognize them at all. So I'm like, oh, it just looks like a whole fake city that but when you go there, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's Sydney or whatever.
Look, I'm just happy they shot on location for some of this stuff and it's not just a futuristic set or whatever.
But it like gives you a sense because I've never been to Australia, so it gives me a sense of being like, you're just like, that's some film like when you watch a Batman movie and you're like, that's clearly New York.
Yeah,
you know. But then when you like Nolan's Batman's where he films parts in like Chicago or in Pittsburgh and you're like, oh yeah, that looks different because I'm so not used to seeing that city all the time.
Right.
The Matrix was really good about that with filming in Australia, and this is really good about that too, is that you're just kind of like, oh, this just looks like a whole new place that I've never really experienced before. Whereas like living in Vancouver, when you watch any 90s movie, you're just like, half of these were filmed here. So
this is all here.
It's like, I know where that is, you know? And so it's like, you're telling me that's Brooklyn? I do not think so.
Not one vampire in Brooklyn. So
they go to the human hideout, which is in an old winery.
Yeah.
This becomes important. It's actually a plot point, not just pretty looking. So they're in this winery. The vampire secret police end up figuring out they're there because they ambush a human what's the word? Like a column, like a they're riding through the desert or whatever, and they ambush these humans. They capture a bunch of them, and then they figure out where the other humans are. Among them is Sam Neill's daughter, which we'll get to later. They're coming to get all the humans. They evacuate, but Ethan Hawke is like, we got to stay and do the experiment. We got to try this. This is our only chance to do it because this big wine drum where they store the wine and the air can be filtered out of it is like the perfect environment for it. So they get to work doing it, and essentially they lift a flap to let the sunlight in. They light Ethan Hawke on fire and then vent all of the oxygen out of the thing to put the fire out and soak him with a wet robe. And they do this 3 times, and then he comes back to life as a human.
Hell yeah.
The experiment worked. And in the meantime, Sam Neill's daughter gets kidnapped, returns to Sam Neill. Sam Neill gets Ethan Hawke's brother to change her to a vampire because she had refused to before.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Neill had cancer, and but the vampirism, like, he's like, now I can live forever. I never get sick. It's great. But the daughter's like, no, I like being human, blah, blah, blah. Like, no.
She's not coming to terms with it. She starts drinking her own blood.
And then, she gets turned, but she won't drink actual blood.
Yeah.
And she starts turning into a subsider.
Yeah.
And then she is subsequently executed by the state.
Damn.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
And in the meantime,
Frank sees this happen, and he's like, shocked, and it's not what he wants to do anymore. Up for,
man.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe and the woman, they return to this city to try and be like, we have this cure. Frank accosts them at the apartment where there's a little chase scene, and then Frank ends up
cops
biting Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
And Ethan Hawke realizes that the cure is actually when a vampire drinks
turned
back human blood.
Yeah.
Turned back human blood.
Turned blood.
And then the woman gets captured by Sam Neill. Ethan Hawke goes to rescue her.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I have this cure. Sam Neill doesn't want a cure. And then he ends up biting Ethan Hawke and being like, shit, I'm cured anyway.
I'm a human again.
And then Ethan Hawke is like,
no.
Yeah, fuck you. And then he sends him down the elevator to get ripped apart by his own guards.
Nice.
Very violently.
That's cool. Ties him to a chair, too.
Like, ties him to a chair. They rip his head off. There's much more violence at the end of this. And that's kind of it.
And then they ride into the sunset.
And then they ride into the sunset being like, we have a cure. We're coming all over Australia to get you this cure.
Yeah.
And the Australians are like, aye, great.
Yeah. Yeah. All this could have been solved by just like one guy with a helicopter.
Yeah.
Just like float above a city and drop this like blood.
But the thing is too is that like,
come on, man.
All of this could have been resolved by Ethan Hawke being like, all right, listen, we have a cure. And it's my blood and Willem Dafoe's blood. Let's just set up a little blood donation clinic.
Yeah, but
hold on. We can give like half a liter of blood. That's like as much. But like they never really say. It's like, how much blood does a vampire need? It's like, okay.
Apparently, it's like 2 sips.
Yeah, exactly. So they can just drink a little bit of this blood and then pass it along. Yeah. And then those people turn around, get in the donation chair, donate their blood.
Yeah.
And then just it's like spreading COVID, just exponentially, just gets more and more and more.
I think we're underestimating the feralness of a vampire being in the presence of a human.
I know, but they never explain that whether that's what's prohibiting them from doing this.
But these trained soldiers are so quick to turn on their own brothers when they become human, and they eat them to death.
But then they become human.
I think that's what's the big indicator that, there is no control when you see the sight of blood.
But
you want to eat it.
But here's the thing. Okay, I got a solution. It's not as sexy as the film has it, where it's violent and gory.
Yeah.
Set up the blood donation clinic in a locked room, in a safe room away from these soldiers.
Yeah.
And then throw the blood pack down to the soldiers. They can drink the blood, and then they'll realize, oh, wait, I'm cured. I should go donate blood. Yeah. And basically what I'm getting at is I think everyone should donate blood. I think it's very good for the community.
Oh my God, that is the message of this movie.
I think that, you have a lot of it. And if you're really lucky, I've donated blood a couple times. If you're really lucky and you get a good nurse and you're nice to them, they'll give you someone else's blood to take home as a souvenir.
What the fuck? I thought it was a juice box.
Nope. They give you that too, though. That's the thing.
Nice.
That they will give you a special souvenir vial of someone else's blood.
Oh, B positive.
And yeah, if you're like, I'm A positive, I've always wanted to try B positive blood. B positive, does that exist?
Yes, it does.
Then they're like, well, you're in luck. I have a little bit of B pos here.
Wow.
Take it home.
Enjoy. fresh batch of hepatitis
in your coffee.
Oh my God. What?
Enjoy
See,
it.
again, that was cool when they gave them like a beverage, like tea, coffee. They'd be like, "Here's a spoon of blood."
I actually think it's disgusting.
It would.
I think half of the budget of this movie went to like making
Little
weird effective drink, like when he
Yeah.
drinks like the wine and it like sticks to, like, it's so gross.
Yeah, because it's blood, baby.
Also, but like here's the thing, like blood coagulates and like you'd have to
Yeah.
drink it really quickly and or else it would just become like a solid sludge,
yeah,
you know, like it's how blood works.
hot
I would know I've donated blood
through
and,
your mouth.
and I have a couple other people's blood in my fucking backpack right now. Yeah.
This movie rips
It doesn't.
other people's heads apart.
Yeah.
It's man. I wish it was a better film from a story perspective.
Yeah.
I love the world. I love the challenges and like risks it takes to tell a totally different story.
It's weird. I wish this movie was like more expensive. Like they had like a
Yeah.
bigger budget and made like the
Yeah.
fucking lost not the Lost City of Z, the other one, World War Z version of this film, you know, with the huge budget and then, you know, fails at the box office.
Fuck
But,
yeah. If this was
yeah.
a TV show, that'd be great too.
Isn't that what the strain is essentially though? Like
But it's regular vampire stuff.
yeah, I mean I've read the first book, so like it's not a regular vampire. He's like the lord of all vampires.
I know, but it's
Yeah.
like the humans are still the majority and the vampires are only a small.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a regular vampire story. But something like this, if it's adapted into like a miniseries, like a
Yeah.
adolescent style where like some kid vampires get really into Andrew Tate and then you gotta, then you gotta unlearn the shit and also try to be human. It's hard out there for the young boys.
The real vampires are Andrew Tate. I mean, he lives in Romania.
My God, it's true.
That's all you need to know.
Don't give him any more ideas, man. He's already fucking.
He probably drinks blood.
Yeah, drinks
Yeah.
fucking people's blood pressure for sure.
He probably is. He's probably taking the blood of all of those women who live at his weird house
Ugh, yeah.
often as a
Yeah.
threat. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, this movie's all right.
I can't believe you watched it twice. And
But it was because like I wanted to figure out like what to say about it that was more like something. But it's truly just like an okay film.
yeah.
I like talking about it. Like I enjoy talking about it.
I think it made me think, and it was cool.
Yeah, like it's such a good example of a movie that's just like they just blew the execution on
dude.
so many levels.
Yes,
you
that
know?
is true.
Yeah.
That is, I'll give you that, Edward.
Yeah.
OG Edward is still Twilight. Cullen remains undefeated. But
Well, he
come
doesn't
back
need
again.
your help.
Yeah, no, he's
All right.
good.
Thank you for listening.
It's been the day ceiling.
This has been to break the day ceiling.
To break the ceiling.
These ladies got to break the day ceiling to get ahead in the world and lean in and all that stuff.
Lean in with your teeth.
Lean in with your dip.
Teeth first.
All right.
See ya.
See you later.